morning and welcome to the NBA Daily presented by Amazon Prime for March 5th, 2026. I'm Dave DuFour here with Zena Keita. Coming up, our Hornets, a game above 500 after stomping the Celtics. We're going to talk about them. Then Fred Katz is here to go deep on the Knicks in their loss against the Thunder and why he's hopeful about their defense. Good morning, everybody. What's up, Zena? How about those Hornets?
Oh, I just love the possessive our Hornets.
I mean, look, we're claiming possession.
I'm happy you have jumped into the bandwagon with me and you're seeing what my guys in North Carolina are up to. I'm obsessed right now with not only the fact that they're winning and they're continuing to win and they bounce back from that little spell.
Yeah.
Right. That's big. But then it's how they're winning, Dave. That's the biggest part.
Listen, they won their sixth straight last night. 6 games in a row that they've won by 15 or more points. They beat the Celtics 118-89. This was the sort of two-way game that we've been seeing from them. High power offense, excellent defense. And, you know, some of this, look, Boston couldn't hit some shots here and there, and that happens with this team a lot. But it was around the basket that I thought the Hornets defense really just shone. They were making it very difficult for the Celtics. They were very physical. Both Moussa Diabate and Ryan Kalkbrenner, I thought, posed problems for the bigs and for the guards. I mean, Jaylen Brown struggled around the basket too. But this was what we've been talking about with this team for weeks. They do it on both ends. Honestly,
I'm happy you called out the bigs because a lot of folks have looked at Moussa, they looked at Ryan Kalkbrenner, and particularly Moussa, they looked at it from a perspective of he's agile. He's agile. He's switchable. That's his positive as a big defender. But he also is physical. And I think people woke up to that after that Detroit Pistons game and the, little Jalen Duren little scuffle. And they realized, okay, he's a little bit more physical than we thought. But the same thing with Ryan Kalkbrenner. There's been comparisons in the way that he plays sometimes to Donovan Clingan. Now, I've been watching Donovan Clingan this week. And I'm going to tell you right now, Ryan Kalkbrenner is tougher than that guy down low.
I think he moves much better.
Much better. And stronger, just goes up stronger, but also he's more dexterous around the basket. He's tougher and he pushes folks out. But then going to the perimeter defense, this is something, covering the Warriors, particularly picked up on the Charlotte Hornets. I mean, Stephen Curry, when he was being guarded by the Hornets defenders, arms red as hell. Like there's scars, but not to say that they're holding, but they are a physical team. And I don't think I appreciated that until I saw it with the Warriors. And I've been seeing it in every game since. Watch the way that the Hornets come off when they're defending guards coming off of screens. They're hugging. They're not allowing a big to come in between them to be able to seal them off and allow guys to curl off tight. They're right there with you. Whether it's a hug, a hold, whatever you want, that's just how they play. And that makes it hard for refs to call it any other way because that's the standard across the board. That remind you of another team that plays like that?
Listen, they remind you of a lot of the good young teams that we've been watching, right? Oklahoma City Thunder with the way that they stay physical.
There you go.
Here's the other thing about this team. They only 4 turnovers against the Boston Celtics.
Huge.
If you can protect the ball and you can protect the rim and you can shoot the way they do, they hit 19 threes. They got up 49 of them. I mean, they are going to make you're going to have to shoot with them. Look, they outshot the Boston Celtics by 13 three-point attempts. That tells you
wild.
In and of itself.
Right.
This team is maybe Charles Lee is taking Missoula ball to another level down there right now. And part of that is look, you're younger and you kind of have to do that because you need to play a higher variant style. But also they've got these 3 great shooters in their starting lineup in Brandon Miller, LaMelo Ball, and Konkanippel. And Konkanippel hits 4 out of 8 threes last night. I mean, just continuing to add in the numbers to this crazy rookie season. And, look, I'm not going to say that this is the Indiana Pacers because they're different teams than that Pacers team last year. That Pacers team had veterans. A lot of that was about health and things coming together. But their rise during the last couple months, it's not dissimilar to what the Pacers did last year, starting about mid-December when they got their legs under them.
There were questions about Halliburton's shooting and what this team was doing. And all of a sudden it rose. And I think that there's an interesting comparison to make there of as Halliburton got his shooting back on par, the consistency in that, that team got better. The ball movement got better. Things opened up in a better way. And you're seeing the same sort of consistency, not only because of Con Knippel. I really think that he's a big catalyst in this, but LaMelo, his consistency in one, being able to put up the shots that he makes and create, but really creating for his teammates. He's looking so much more. We were, texting throughout the game, Dave. You were calling out how LaMelo's looking for his teammates to come set a screen or sending passes to his teammates 4 feet away with such gusto behind it. And it's because he's having fun and he's trying to involve his teammates in it. And I think as much as he gets involved, things roll even more for Charlotte. And to the point of the amount of shots that Charlotte puts up, they not only operate really well in the half court, they run. They run and they turn you over. Boston is number 1 in terms of the least amount of turnovers per game. They average about 12 a game. They turn over Boston, veteran guards like Peyton Pritchard and Derek White 16 times, and they get 21 points off of it. That's impressive. And they limit Boston to just 5 points off of their turnovers, their 5 turnovers. So it's a combination of everything, but that comparison of the Pacers is so cool because I kind of see LaMelo's stability correlated to Charlotte's just growth overall.
Yeah. Well, I mean, all that being said, Zena, why can't the Charlotte Hornets make the Eastern Conference Finals? If they make the 6th seed, they're as scary as anybody right now in the East. I don't believe in them necessarily because they're so young and we just know how it works. But what if, Zena? What if this team, they have nothing to lose? You know what it is?
I mean, I still think they're going to make, they're making the playoffs. I don't think they're going to be in the play-in. I think they're going to be the 6th seed in the playoffs. And it's the quizzes versus test. It's the quizzes versus tests. You can ace all your quizzes all year long. The shortened versions, the quick, being able to memorize what you're supposed to do in a short amount of time, only 20 questions, maybe 20 minutes. It works really, really well if you studied and you prepared. And we know Charles Lee has gotten those guys studied and prepared. When you take the test, you are now having to apply the principles that you learn in those small little fragments of time to a longer, extended, more strenuous examination. And in that examination, you're going to have the things that you've learned over the course of the year tested and re-examined. And you're going to have less time to adjust because you're going to be sitting in that test. And that is what the playoffs are. Those Charlotte Hornets are going to be sitting in this test. And in each game, folks are going to be adjusting to them. Not in the same way that folks have been trying to adjust to them on a night in, night out basis in the regular season. When people got time to focus on you, to watch tape, to learn every single tendency that you have, and get to, in real time, adjust to you over a 7-game series, that's where I think that's going to limit them to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. And the folks that have sat through the test before and they've aced the test, they're going to be able to advance. They got a lot of good quizzes right now, but they haven't had the test yet. So we'll see what happens.
Sounds like a hater answer, Zena. Look, if they were the 8th seed, I think that they could push the Pistons to 6 games. I think it would be a great series. It'd be a lot of fun. I know. Listen, I just think that they probably can't make it to the Eastern Conference Finals.
With you.
But man, it would be fun. Ask me again in a month, Zena, because we've got to see what happens over the next few weeks. Guys, stick around after the break. We got Fred Katz to go along on the Knicks, and he maybe believes in their defense. We had Thunder Knicks last night at MSG. Our guy, Fred Katz, was in the building. Pretty good game. The Knicks come up a little bit short. They had 2 good looks from 3 to tie it up, to potentially send it to overtime. Hey, I know we're not about giving, participation trophies to teams and patting them on the back. But if you're going to lose a game to the Oklahoma City Thunder, this was not a bad way to lose it. They looked pretty good.
They did look good. I thought they totally looked good. And you kind of have to take the grander context into things, right? Mm-hmm. The grander context is the Knicks are playing really good basketball right now. They just throttled the San Antonio Spurs at home. They played a really good game in Toronto on Tuesday night. This game was second half of a back-to-back. It was second half of a back-to-back for Oklahoma City as well, but Oklahoma City also didn't play Shai Gilgeous-Alexander on the first half of that back-to-back. They were sitting some guys, so they were a little bit more rested. This is the second half of a back-to-back for the Knicks against a team that notoriously will absolutely exhaust you, the defending champs and the favorites to win the title again this year. And yeah, I thought they played a pretty good game. They were down 15 at one point early in the third quarter. They end up kind of roaring back there with a very high energy lineup. They have done a good job being resilient. They've done a good job defensively, which kind of should surprise some people after the way they started the year. But over the last month and a half, they have the number one ranked defensive efficiency in the NBA.
Yeah,
this
crazy.
is a team that is playing very good basketball. They were doubling Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, which was putting them into rotation, and they were hitting those rotations like well. They were communicating well. They were playing physically. They were guarding Chet Holmgren with Smalls. They were guarding Chet Holmgren with Mikal Bridges and with Josh Hart. Like they were doing interesting defensive stuff and pulling it off. I think at a pretty darn high level, and they just ended up giving up more 3 points than they lost, which, like, if they were playing the Kings, we'd say was a disaster. But when they're playing the Thunder, it's like, that's okay. That happens sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the fact that New York, I was really impressed with this game overall. The fact that New York got down a little bit early just because Chet Holmgren was insane in that first quarter, dropped 14 points, 4 of 6 from 3. He couldn't miss, it felt like. But they were able to come back in this game. And you just talked about the fact that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander sat for the first half or the first night of their back-to-back. And you looked at the fact that Mitch Robinson sat for the second night of the New York Knicks back-to-back. Now, a lot of Knicks fans are like, yo, we would love to see Mitch Robinson against the Thunder. This is the way that we can actually properly measure what we look like up against the Thunder. However, in the midst of this rotation and balance of Mitch Robinson's minutes as he's dealing with injury and dealing with how he is playing out in these games, we've seen Mohamed Diawara come alive, literally doubling his minutes and providing defense, rebounds, outside shooting, just a ton of great stuff coming out of the French rookie. What's it been like watching him evolve over the course of this season? And how important is he in the midst of getting Mitchell Robinson to be able to play more consistently?
I think he is probably at this point, and I'm not reporting this via sources, but just being around the team, knowing how they operate, and seeing the way they play, I think there's a pretty decent chance that when they're at full strength and the playoffs start, he's in their rotation.
Absolutely.
Like, I think he gets minutes.
Agreed.
He's guarding well. They have confidence using him as a switchable defender. They have confidence using him against good wings. They have confidence using him against guards. And when people talk about, well, he's a switchable defender, usually that just means like, all right, well, you could do well enough on a bunch of guys. But what they're actually doing is Mike Brown has put his money where his mouth is. And he's not just saying, all right, you're good enough on a bunch of guys. They played Boston not too long ago. And Mike Brown was like, go be the guy on Jaylen Brown. Don't switch off of Jaylen Brown. Go be on Jaylen Brown and guard Jaylen Brown. And he did a good job on Jaylen Brown. I will say, I have never in my life seen anyone go from kind of hesitant at anything to so confident at anything that Mohamed Diawara has done on 3-pointers. I have never seen
absurd.
that. I'm not just talking about basketball. It could be anything. It could just be doing your homework in your 10th grade poetry class. I have never seen anyone go from hesitant to so confident. He hilariously broke the record for 3-pointers per minute in a game in that Sunday game against San Antonio when he took 13 threes in 15 minutes. And it would have been 14 threes if the 1-2-pointer that he took didn't have like a toenail on the line. Like if his shoe was a half a size smaller, he would have had 14 threes in 15 minutes in that game. And my favorite one, and I was just talking about this in the locker room with Jordan Clarkson, who loved this shot, and I was like, you would love this shot, was Knicks were up huge, and Mike Brown had brought in all the end of bench guys, and Diawara was still out there with the end of bench guys. And it's a bunch of guys who hadn't gotten in the game yet. And Diawara brings the ball up, and he could kick it to Tyler Kolek in the corner, who hasn't been on the floor all game and hasn't had a touch. And he could give it to another one of those guys. But he's like, you know what? No, I think I'm going to chuck this pull-up 3 with 19 on the shot clock. In a 25-point game. And he just throws it up there. And I was like, and after the game, by the way, when he shot 4 of 13 from 3, he tweeted out, it felt like 4 of 4, which was a phenomenal tweet.
That's a shooter's tweet right there.
Right.
I mean,
exactly.
Shooting mindset.
It was a 10 out of 10 tweet. Just A+.
You love to see it from the rookie. And he's producing and he's impacting this team. And that's really fun to watch. There's moments where it's like, you know there's a drop off in terms of your rebounding capacity for if you're the Knicks when Mitchell Robinson is off the floor. But there are moments where while I was watching Unrivaled and this game back and forth tonight, I'm like, oh, OG's out there. No, it's Diawara. Okay, that's good. That is a good thing in terms of defensive intensity, being able to spread the floor and flatten the floor, especially in transition with that corner outside 3 is just like, it's really nice to see him be so flexible for them.
Yeah, and the reality is, like, he's a rookie who was the 51st pick in the draft. Most 51st picks don't do anything ever.
Right.
They either never play a second in the NBA, or if they do play a second in the NBA, it's exclusively in meaningless time, or it's exclusively for meaningless teams. Yeah, like it's just like, and then they're out of the league in a year or two. Like,
and he's playing the Oklahoma City Thunder in March. For a team that's going to have home court in the playoffs. I mean, it's
I think
impressive.
There's a pretty good chance he's going to be in their playoff rotation. That doesn't mean he's going to be playing a gazillion minutes, but I think there's a pretty good chance he's going to be given a shot. And if he looks overwhelmed, that's fine. He's a second-round pick rookie. They'll pull him. He won't continue to play. But I do think that he's going to be given a chance there, and I think the way that he's played deserves to give him a chance. And I think what the Knicks have right now, what I'm willing to say about him right now is like 51st pick. All right. I'm pretty intrigued. Yeah. Like that's an interesting 51st pick. I don't know what he's going to end up being. I don't know what he's going to end up amounting to, but that's a guy with size who can guard the 3-point shot while he's been taking a ton of them and he's shooting a good percentage on the year. There's a reason why he took 13 against the Spurs.
Right.
There's a reason why he chucked up through 4 more tonight. It's because nobody is guarding him on those threes.
Yeah.
There are levels of becoming a spacer that guys have to hit. You got to hit enough threes for defenses to guard you. Then when they start to guard you, do you keep taking them?
Right.
And then when you're taking them, do you keep hitting them? And then do they start closing out on you hard? Then do they start deploying actual closeout strategies against you, right? Are they running you off the 3-point line? Are they stutter stepping at you? Are they defending against the drive? Like with him, he's going to be a really interesting one because if he actually can hit threes, it's going to be hard to just full on run him off the 3-point line because he's a pretty smart passer and he can kind of take it off the dribble a little bit. And so he could attack a closeout if you're just going to run him off the 3-point arc. But he's got to get to a point where like he can be a spacer, where he can get the defense to actually come close out on him. He's not there yet. He doesn't need to be there yet. He's a rookie, but it's interesting what's going on right now because this is a good progression.
I liked him next to Karl Anthony Towns. I thought that was a pretty interesting, a lot of shooting on the court, which is not something that you see from the Knicks very often, and maybe gives you another wrinkle. Like you said, if you come to the playoffs and you do need another shooter out there, I don't know. We'll see. How do you feel about the defense? I know lately it's been good. Once we get to the playoffs, I think that we feel pretty confident that Jalen Brunson's going to provide plenty of scoring and Karl Anthony Towns is going to hit shots. This defense hold up in the playoffs, what they're doing right now, what you're seeing?
I think it depends on how you define hold up. Like, can it be good enough for them to win the East? Yeah, I think so. I think so for sure. The reality is, in their most important moments, they are going to have weak spots on the court. Since January 22nd, they are number 1 in the league in points allowed per possession. Now, that's a little misleading they're giving up ridiculously low 3-point shooting during that time. And there's no way over the course of his full season, the team is that the opponents are going to shoot 30, 31% or whatever it is that they are against the Knicks during that time. And if you look at the really advanced metrics, you go on Second Spectrum and you look at a stat called QSM, which basically tells you how lucky or unlucky a defense has been based on not just where shots are coming from, but who's taking the quality of shooters who are taking those shots. The Knicks over this time period are so far and away the luckiest defense in the NBA, and it's not even close. So I do take that number one defensive rating with a little bit of salt because of that. However, it's not like it's saying, well, the Knicks should be 22nd. It's saying like the Knicks should be like 6th, you know, which is still a very good, respectable defense. And the reality is Mitchell Robinson is a really good defensive center. And in the playoffs, because there are no back-to-backs, they're going to be able to have him out there every game. And he's capable of playing really well. He doesn't always have it every single night. I think there's a chance the reason he doesn't have it every single night is because in the regular season, he can't really bring himself to have it every single night because of the injuries. And in the playoffs, that might change. And the reason why I say that and why I don't think I'm being too soft on him in order to say that is because that's literally exactly what happened last year. And he was unbelievable for them during their playoff run. Arguably their second most important player behind Jalen Brunson during that first round series against Detroit and second round series against Boston. OG Anunoby has had some of his best defensive moments of the season over this run. I think he's been tremendous. Mikal Bridges for the last 2 weeks, I think has been a lot more physical, a lot better at the point of attack. They also have Jose Alvarado now. And at the beginning of the year, one of their huge problems was point of attack defense. They just weren't very good at it. And Jose Alvarado is one of the best small point of attack defenders in the league. He is so good at that. He is such a disruptor. He makes everybody uncomfortable. He can also do something which the Knicks don't really have, which is he can full court pressure you. They don't really have a good full court pressure guy. Like they have good defensive wings. Josh Hart's a good defensive wing, and OG Anunoby's a great defensive wing, and Mikal Bridges is in that category also. None of them are great full court pressure guys. None of them are at their best full court pressing. And what Jose Alvarado can do is he can full court press you. And what that does is it's going to get offenses into their sets with 14 on the shot clock instead of 18 on the shot clock. And that alone is going to be able to help your defense when he's out there too. And you look at the turnovers that he's creating. You look at the turnovers that are being created when he's on the court. And I think that's been a big thing for them also, their ability to get out running off of those. So I think this defense is good enough to stand up. I will credit Towns as well. I think Towns has been much better defensively over this stretch than he was at the beginning of the year. Beginning of the year, defensively, he was a real problem. I thought his best defensive game of the season was the San Antonio game on Sunday. I thought he really held up well in the Toronto game last night. I thought he did a good job against Oklahoma City during this game. I know he fouled out, but I thought he did a good job during this game when like it's a tough matchup for him and he's having to guard a lot of different guys. And OKC is guarding him with like Lou Dort. And he was just fighting on the offensive boards. And he sometimes ends up getting cross-matched in transition because of it. And I thought he did a good job. They have ways for making up for we're going to go at Brunson and we're going to go at Towns. And it can help them. And it can help them like stand up. And if the offense is the recipe for this team is not like you have to be the number one defense.
Right.
The recipe for this team is be an elite offense. An unbelievable top 2, top 3, number 1 offense, and just be good enough on defense. Be above average on defense. And if you're top 10 on defense, that's amazing. And that I think they're capable of getting there. Whether they do or don't, we'll see. But I think they're proving they're capable of getting there.
Okay, so you want to win on the margins, aka stack enough good possessions offensively, more than your opponent. Well, OKC did a pretty good job of that on their own. When you look at what Chet Holmgren and his 28 points did, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and his clutch minutes and his 26 points last night against the Knicks did. This defense has been looking great, but I'm curious if OKC and their ability to turn it up, whether it's through Chet, whether it's through Shea, if J-Dub ever comes back, if it's through J-Dub, do the Knicks have enough to stop a team like OKC? And if anything, what's the lesson they learned in this game about where they need to be by the time the playoffs come around?
I mean, I would say no, they don't have enough to stop a full strength OKC. I would also say I wouldn't pick anybody against full strength OKC. I mean, look at what's happening with OKC. Like,
they haven't been
AJ
healthy
Mitchell's
all year.
out. Right.
Yeah,
AJ Mitchell's
right.
out and J-Dub's out and Shea's out. And then it's like, oh, you know what? Just hand the offense over to Case and Wallace. That's fine. He'll average 20 a game.
Hey, who's this AJ Mitchell guy making $3 million a year?
Like, I was looking at it during that stretch when Case and Wallace started, scoring 20 every night. It was February 22nd. So it was like 2 weeks ago. Not even. Case and Wallace is running 32 pick and rolls per 100 possessions. Case Wallace has never had a week and a half where he's run 32 pick and rolls per 100 possessions. That's never happened, but they're just like, yeah, just let him do that. And he's going to be super efficient and it's just going to work. It's going to be like, yeah, it works. And I'm watching all his pick and rolls and it's like, they play, Chicago, for example, they played Chicago last night and Shea sat in that game and they have no AJ Mitchell and they have no J-Dub and Case and Wallace runs a pick and roll and Chicago defends him in a drop. And he's like, all right, you know what? I'm super fast. And this guy's probably going to get hung up on the screen because we have Isaiah Hartenstein, one of the best screeners in the league, setting screens. So I'm just going to, although I guess Hartenstein didn't play, but he was like, I'm just going to take off. And so he just attacks zone coverages now. He's so good at being like, zone coverage, I'm so fast, I'm going to attack the zone coverage. And then what he does is, I'm going to attack the zone coverage so much, there's going to be so much room, I'm going to get by the big. I'm going to get by the guy guarding the screen. And then his eyes immediately, they veer. They veer to the low man or they veer to the strong side defender, whoever's coming. Immediately. As soon as that happens, pass to the corner. Every time. It's so quick, it is like clockwork. And then they come on and Chicago double teams them. They blitz him on one pick and roll in that game. They blitz him on one in the corner. It was like kind of an ice, kind of a blitz on the side pick and roll. And Chet had set the screen and Chet pops and he's like, oh, well, I've been staring at the screener's defender the whole time. I'm just going to toss it over to Chet, hits him for a wide open pick and pop. Just the decision-making game from Case and Wallace, who's your 900th dribbler.
Right.
Meanwhile, we have the audacity in the public to be like, OKC could use another creator.
Well, they got one. They were gifted one.
Yeah, Jared McCain.
Yeah. But now they have McCain and they have Case and Wallace and they have Shea and they have Dub and they have AJ Mitchell. And it's like, this team, and Wiggins can do some stuff off the dribble, and Isaiah Joe shoots the lights out. And it's like, this team is so loaded that I would not say that any team is really in a good position to go up against them. What did the Knicks learn from this? I would say the Knicks learned from this how incredibly perfect they have to be when they are put into rotation.
Yeah.
Because they were doubling Shea a lot.
Yeah.
And they're not a team that doubles a ton.
But they're probably going to have to against scorers like a Shea. And there's whoever's coming out of the West is going to have someone like this. I mean, you can go all the way down the entire roster of the Western Conference. There's going to be someone that they're going to have to double up and have to get some rotations on. And so, yeah, this is interesting. We'll see what happens. And as Dave, you mentioned, will this defense hold up?
Yeah. And you look at the Eastern Conference and it's like, all right, let's say they face Detroit in either the second round or the conference finals. And it's like,
Cade.
That team has one creator. And I think the best way to, if you're going to execute every coverage to the best of your ability, I think the best way to go with Cade is probably you're going to have to blitz him a good amount. Right. You can't run one coverage against him all the time because he's too good. He'll figure it out. But you probably have to blitz him a good amount and say like, all right, Asar Thompson, you're going to have to beat us. And what that's going to do is if you're going to send second defenders at Shea and there are different, or at Cade, and there are different ways you can do it. You could blitz him hard. You could show, just kind of show some soft double teams. There are a million different ways you can go about double teaming, but whatever you do, you're going to put yourself into rotation, or at least make it more likely you're putting yourself into rotation. And those rotations have to be crisp. Tonight, I actually thought the Knicks rotations on first glance, I'll go back and rewatch it, but on first glance, I thought they did a really good job.
Yeah.
However, every once in a while, one guy went one way, another guy went another way, and there was an open corner three. And those moments in the playoffs are the ones that lose you playoff series, because the reality is these playoff series can be decided by like one possession in a game 3 and one possession in a game 5. And it's that one time where you didn't hit your rotation that cost you the whole playoff series, that you didn't do it once in the game 3 and once in game 5. And the Knicks have gotten way better at that, in my opinion. They were earlier in the year, much better communicating on defense. But I would say that's kind of the one, because I would venture that this was the game they double teamed a ball handler more than they had in any other game so far this season.
And also, if somehow they get Karl Anthony Towns to actually shoot 3-pointers, I feel like, maybe they win more games. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's the first take answer, David. That's the mainstream answer.
It's
How about
killing me,
crisp
though.
Rotations?
Yeah, but it's killing me that Karl
I
Anthony
get it.
Towns
You're not
isn't shooting
wrong.
threes. I think that's a big mistake. Anyway, not a big mistake. Getting Fred Katz on the show tonight. Thanks for hanging out with us, Fred. Everybody go and read Fred at The Athletic. What do you got? You look like you had something to say.
No, I was just going to say that's what happens when Smalls guard Towns.
Yeah. Okay.
When Smalls guard
I
Towns,
don't mind that he goes in the post.
Sure.
I don't mind that.
I still think, listen, it's an offensive flaw to not run some plays for this guy to get some threes up, especially early, because he's a front runner. If he hits a couple, he normally has a good night. Anyway, we had a good night. Thank you guys for listening. For Fred Katz and Zena Keita, I'm Dave DuFour, and this has been the NBA Daily. Thanks for hanging out with us.